Blessings, namaste, and love, everyone. I'm spiritualist, psychic astrologer, and medium Sette. Thank you once again for allowing me this opportunity to share with you my astrological and spiritual insights. And in this video, we are reviewing the energies of the month of April 2022. Now, as I've mentioned in previous videos, we are approaching an eclipse season. Actually, we are in the eclipse season, April into May. We have a solar eclipse at the end of April on April 30th. But let me begin by first reviewing our coming new moon, which is on April 1st. We have two new moons in April, on the 1st and on April 30th. The second new moon in a calendar month is generally referred to as I believe a black moon. Now we have our new moon on April 1st, and as always, I emphasize the phase of the moon leading up to the new moon, which is the balsamic moon phase, which is the time for us to adequately energetically prepare for the coming lunar cycle, and that begins on March 28th. That's the dark moon phase. It's a time for us to prepare for the coming lunar cycle, gather our thoughts, become clear on the intentions that we want to set in motion at the time of the new moon. Now, the new moon, as I said, it's April 1st. The exact time of the new moon is 2:24 a.m., and that is Eastern Daylight Time. Our new moon in April is in the sign of Aries. One of the greatest challenges with Aries is that it is always inspired to recognize the importance of following through with whatever has been set in motion. Aries begins the tropical zodiac. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's very much indicative and representative of beginnings. And when the energy is demonstrated from a lower vibrational frequency, it doesn't always follow through with everything that it sets out to accomplish. So, if you have any experiences where you need to follow through with any matter in your experiences, let yourself reflect on that experience. Perhaps use the balsamic moon phase to assess as to perhaps why you are not allowing yourself to accomplish all that you have set out to do. Sometimes we have deserving issues that do not permit us to really achieve our accomplishments. If that's the case, remember, when we offer these insights, we don't judge. They're not judgments, they're observations and inspiration for us to really recognize what we are encountering and rise above whatever may no longer serve a greater purpose for us. So as I said, where you may find yourself not allowing yourself to complete anything that you have begun, this new moon is an auspicious opportunity to really recognize that condition and allow yourself to become very clear and be determined that you will allow yourself to follow through with whatever it is you may have begun. Employ this new moon to really recognize that part of a bigger picture actually that's happening in April is, especially I'll talk about in a little bit in a few minutes, regarding the Pluto retrograde phase that is coming up. You know, for many years we've been inspired to recognize that we are really the masters of our destiny, and that we are very much in control of what we bring to form in our lives, and to recognize our innate power, meaning the ability to really take the reins in our lives and control and direct where it is that we are advancing and evolving in our lives, not to control or manipulate others, but to really take the reins of our own experiences and our own existence, and recognize how we are very much co-creative with the spirit realm. You know, Aries is also the sign of the one who is the entrepreneur. I'm noticing that there are many individuals who are desiring to embark upon entrepreneurial endeavors. So this new moon could certainly be the opportunity, especially also the new moon that we have coming up at the solar eclipse on April 30th, to really begin an entrepreneurial venture with whatever that might be for you. And if you're not at that point where you're ready to initiate this process, perhaps employ the new moon to really set those seeds in motion, to plant those seeds at the time of the new moon of those intentions, and cast those intentions in motion at the time of the new moon. Perhaps if it resonates with you, light a red candle on the new moon. Aries is a fire sign, so it is suggested to embrace a red candle, but also too, red represents energy, power, setting in motion, all of these intentions, provided that we are clear with those intentions. Remember, whenever you plant a seed, we need to be abundantly clear with what it is that we are casting in motion. Remember, if you're not clear, if you're casting thoughts of uncertainty, then that's what the universe is going to reflect back to you, the uncertainty. So at the new moon, always, whenever we plant these seeds, we suggest to become as abundantly clear with the intentions as we are able to. And April 12th, we have a conjunction between Jupiter and Neptune. A conjunction alignment is just as like a new moon, when two elements come together. Whenever two elements come together, we begin a new cycle of experience. Jupiter and Neptune are coming together in the sign of Pisces. Pisces represents, among many things, spirituality, the psychic faculties, our intuitiveness. It also represents and is indicative of that which exists beneath the surface in our subconscious minds. The Jupiter-Neptune conjunction does begin a significant new cycle of spiritual growth and evolution, which is a little bit more specific to a Jupiter cycle, because a Jupiter cycle of experience is approximately 12 years. That 12-year cycle is a Jupiter cycle, and it is representative of a spiritual cycle of growth and evolution. So just in general, because remember too, we also, as I always say, we have to look to see where these aspects, alignments are residing in our personal charts, but just in general, perhaps reflect upon the last 12 years, how you've grown spiritually, and observe that this will begin a new time of spiritual growth and evolution for you as well. Certainly there is a heightened sense of, or a heightened experience of psychic sensitivity out in the world. You know, we may feel that we are experiencing an acute sensitivity more so than ever. So that being said, always be aware how to clear and keep yourself energetically protected against discordant energies that may be running rampant in the outside world, especially from a psychic, spiritual level. Now on April 16th, we have our next full moon. It's in the late degrees of Libra. Libra, among many things, represents balance, our connection with nature, creativity, art and music. I would suggest on this new moon a little bit more so to really recognize and allow yourself to understand the importance and the significance of creating a balance in your life, because at this full moon, whatever may be out of balance in your lives, you may notice it just a little bit more. But remember, these are all opportunities to correct wherever there may be some disharmony, discord in our lives. So just let yourself really reflect and become aware, because the full moon will bring awareness. It will heighten awareness. It will culminate. It will manifest. It will bring to form all that has been energetically set in motion. So if you are experiencing any sort of imbalance in your lives, this is this full moon on April 16th. I may not have mentioned the exact time. It is at 2:55 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Allow yourself to become very aware where there may be imbalances and where you may need to create a balance in your life as well. Also, what I suggest to recognize, because this full moon is many of the placements in this full moon are at what we refer to as the late degree of a sign. The late degree of a sign is the last stages of the tropical zodiac signs. The signs are measured in degrees and minutes. Each sign is 30 degrees. And when an element is placed in the last stages of a sign, specifically 27, 28, 29, more so the 29th degree, those are referred to as critical degrees. Now, I'm keeping this very, very simple, but that position is indicative of a turning point, an ending. Much of the placements at this full moon are at the late degrees. The sun and moon, they're at almost 27 degrees of Libra regarding the full moon, 27 degrees of Libra, the sun at 27 degrees of Aries. Also, the rising sign in the full moon chart cast for the United States is at 29 degrees of Leo. This certainly could represent a turning point with what might be happening energetically in the outside world, but specifically in the United States. There are a few other placements at 29 degrees, 28, 29 degrees. So just overall, I suggest for us to certainly keep ourselves energetically grounded. We may find that the chaos experiences in the outside world become a little bit heightened. Remember, as I've always said, when we allow ourselves to be in the world and not of it, to observe what is taking place in the outside world from a place of somewhat detachment, we do not need to be inundated in a very negative way with what's occurring in the outside world. This goes back to what I always state regarding becoming the master of your destiny, to really recognize that you are very instrumental in creating wellness, balance, abundance, perfect health, wonderful relationships in your lives. Every one of us has the opportunity to create many, many blessings in our lives. And I cannot emphasize recognizing and embracing that part of you so much more, especially right now as we move through this coming eclipse season. On April 19th, the sun transits into the sign of Taurus, and that will be on April 19th at 10:24 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun transits the sign of Taurus. Taurus is the sign, the element that is most representative of abundance, specifically monetary abundance. So many of us desire to experience monetary blessings, so that we can certainly enjoy the creature comforts that we all are entitled by birthright to enjoy from the universe. It's whether or not we feel deserving of those elements. As the sun transits through the sign of Taurus, I would certainly suggest to really recognize that abundance in all things, not just with monetary matters. Abundance in all things is very much part of our birthright. I always suggest recognizing in the outside world we see abundance everywhere, in the blades of grass, the drop of water, the clouds, the plants, the leaves on the trees. There's abundance everywhere. It's really part of our lives. So I would suggest to, as the sun transits through the sign of Taurus, embrace that cycle of experience as an opportunity to really allow yourself to welcome many, many blessings. We're always inspired to recognize these blessings, but as always, we work with these energetic cycles and the planets and the signs. So as the sun transits the sign of Taurus, allow yourself really to recognize that we are very much intended by Spirit to enjoy many abundant blessings in our lives. Now, I will start with this on April 29th, before I talk about the next balsamic moon phase, which is on April 26th. On April 29th, Pluto will begin its retrograde cycle, and it will remain retrograde until September. Now, whenever an element moves retrograde, and all the planets will move retrograde, the only elements that do not move retrograde are the sun and moon, and they are lights. They're referred to as the lights. All the planets will move retrograde, and whenever an element it changes direction and it appears as though it is moving in a backwards motion in its orbit, the elements, the energies of that elements really are just being regenerated. We go within. With Pluto, Pluto is the one that is most representative of our willpower, our determination, as well as the constituent of being the master of our destiny. So this Pluto retrograde phase, certainly it's an opportunity to really allow yourself to reflect on these qualities within yourselves, that every one of us has certainly the opportunity to really employ and to embrace. You know, when we allow ourselves to really recognize that we are very much instrumental in creating all things in our lives, whether we choose to recognize it or not, we are creating all that we are encountering. And sometimes many of these experiences we choose them before embodying in this human form. So to allow ourselves to welcome opportunities to really recognize how powerful we are as creative beings. That Pluto element is the one that represents the ability to manifest and to bring to form great things, great desires. And as always, we inspire you to really recognize that constituent of being the master of your destiny from a place of love and humility. This is an opportunity, again, for every one of us to really take the reins of our human lives and our existence and really pave the way and the path and create the path which we are traveling upon, and to really recognize that this constituent is very much part of our human experiences. Now, as I said, we have 2 new moons in April. Our second new moon is a partial solar eclipse, and that will take place on April 30th at 4:28 p.m. I do believe we will in the United States, because it's taking place that time of day, be able to somewhat observe the eclipse. And certainly whenever we observe any type of phenomenon like that, we want to make sure that we are using the proper tools to view these phenomena. Now, the balsamic moon phase for this new moon will begin on April 26th, and the exact time of that is 9:10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Now, I've also suggested, because in other videos, that because the new moon is a solar eclipse is a significant new moon, and it begins a longer cycle of experience. Generally a new moon on a month-to-month basis begins a cycle of experience of a 27-28 day lunar cycle. Because the next new moon is a solar eclipse, it will begin a longer cycle of experience, whereas all that we set in motion at that time may remain with us for longer periods of time, 3-6 months, and sometimes many years. And because of that, generally the 3-month time frame leading up to that solar eclipse event is the time to prepare for this next lunar cycle. Allow yourself to be abundantly aware that all intentions that are cast in motion, all thoughts that we project on the day before, of, and after the new moon will stay with us for a longer period of time. So maybe allow yourself a little bit more time to prepare for this coming lunar cycle. And the solar eclipse is in the sign of Taurus. And in close proximity to the sun and moon, we have the planet Uranus, who is also in Taurus. Uranus is the one that brings about great change, higher awareness. It's the one that most represents awakenings, great awakenings. And in the sign of Taurus, and I began sharing this insight when Uranus first moved into Taurus a few years ago, Uranus will remain in the sign for approximately 7 years. And as it transits the sign of Taurus, it is one very much awakening us, as I referred to earlier, regarding abundance and the experience of abundance. And again, when I refer to abundance in this manner, it is not specific to only monetary elements. Remember, abundance in all things. Also, the Uranus in Taurus cycle is very much transforming and bringing about great change to the economy, the monetary system. Certainly, we may find ourselves observing changes economically. And remember, all of this is certainly something and possibilities to embrace, but also to create that what you might refer to as stability within yourselves. Taurus it's a fixed sign. It's very much connected to the creature comforts. It desires stability within itself, especially stability where finances are concerned. And I always suggest to recognize that when we feel stable and secure with anything within ourselves, that's only what's going to be reflected in the outside world. So if you feel as though you're not enjoying financial stability, if you will, in your lives, this is an opportunity to really establish that knowing and to create that certainty within yourself, and really to allow yourself to awaken that we very much by birthright from the universe are here to enjoy many abundant blessings, certainly financially and monetarily, but in all experiences and all things in our lives. I've always suggested to recognize whenever I share these insights, to really understand on a personal level how all of this connects with you. You really have to see how it's all being placed in your astrological charts personally. That being said, I will begin my next residence at the Mystical Moons in Fort Myers and Bonita Springs on April 18th, and I will be conducting sessions through May 3rd. My schedule is already filling up. If you would like to schedule time with me, certainly contact the centers directly. We have many options for sessions, one being extended 90-minute sessions. I began offering these extended periods of time during consultations because I observed a few years ago how much has been coming through for individuals during consultations, especially regarding the information as it pertains astrologically. Even sometimes I've noticed that a 90-minute session, we've only scratched the surface on what needs to be reviewed and assessed, especially astrologically. So if it resonates with you, I certainly suggest allowing yourself a little bit more time with me so that we can dedicate the adequate amount of desired time needed so we can complete and review whatever it is that you may have on your mind. And as I said, certainly reach out to the Mystical Moons. They will schedule a time, and I always so look forward to the time and the many blessings of really connecting with everyone in Florida, but in all experiences as well. So once again, I'm spiritualist, psychic astrologer, and medium Ray Sette. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share some of the many astrological and spiritual insights of the coming month. Many blessings. Namaste. See you very soon.